A school board meeting devolved into shouting and threats this week in Tennessee. This is a sign of how contentious this debate over masks in schools has become in part of the country. The school board in Williamson County, Tennessee, voted to approve a temporary mask order for elementary schools. Some parents applauded the decision. Others lashed out at supporters in the parking lot. Some threatened and harassed parents who were wearing masks as they left.
Child abusers! You are child abusers! There's a place for you guys! There's a bad place in hell! And everybody's taking notes, buddy! Keep that little smug!
Put it back on! Put your mask on!
Kids sucking that bacteria. How you like that? We know who you are! We know who you are!
Keep it calm.
No more masks!
Keep it calm. Keep it calm.
No more masks!
We're on these guys' side. They're on
No,
our side.
no, they're not. They're not on our side.
The police are on our side. The police are on our side. Let's calm down.
Yes.
Calm down. We know who you are.
We
We
know
know
who
who
you are.
You can leave
We know who
freely,
you are.
but we will find you, and we
You
know
will
who you
never
are.
be allowed in
We know
public
who you
again.
are.
You will never be allowed.
I know
You'll never
who you
let it be
are.
allowed in public
I know
again.
who you are. I know who you are. Let him out. Let's let him out.
Whoa! You better watch out. You better watch out. You better watch out.
Keep it calm. Everybody back up. Please. Everybody back up. Back up. Back up. I'm back, man. I'm on your side. I'm a parent. Give me a lane for a shout. Peace. You're good. Peace. Let him in peace. Peace. Be easy. Everyone. Peace. Peace. Peace, but we know who you are. You know who you are.
With me now is the man you saw being harassed in that car, Michael Miller. Michael, thank you for being here. I've got a preview monitor right over here, and I could see you shaking your head as you were watching that video. What are you thinking as you watch that back?
Every time I watch that, I'm terrified. When you're in the moment, I knew it was bad. I called my wife as soon as I got out of there. I called a friend on the way home. I drove the most convoluted way possible home after that. I had no idea how bad it really was until I saw it and someone shared that video with me the next day.
Explain what was happening there, because I watched the meeting was about 3 hours in Williamson County, the school board meeting. I watched it. It was raucous inside the room. It was nothing like that. How did it escalate?
Well, the tensions were definitely high. Before the meeting, I do want to compliment. I lined up there at 2:30 as the fourth person in line. And there were people from both sides lining up because there were 30 speaker spots, each with 1 minute. So we wanted to get there early. We were peaceful beforehand. People actually, one of the Mothers for Liberty handed me a bottle of water prior to the meeting. So we were actually fairly civil. I bumped knuckles with a gentleman on the other side. We went in, the meeting inside, the decorum quickly went out of control, just kind of a mob mentality. The energy was super high. I knew it was going to be terse. We all had our minute. The board recessed and came back, and the board started talking. And then there are videos of one gentleman who had to speak his mind and walked out. And then a bunch of people walked out in a very violent uproar. I use the word violent in terms of loud. It was deafening. None of the videos capture how deafening it was in that room. It was a room with a capacity of 225 people, and I'm quite certain we were above that. And it was echoey and loud, and intimidating.
Yeah, I saw the board chair ask the deputy to escort some people out during the public comment portion. So it set the scene for me. You are about to leave this meeting, and you see all these people outside. Walk me through what's happening then.
Yeah, so here's what happened. I actually left the meeting early. I left the meeting at 8:40. The meeting was still going on. It was very clear the direction the final vote was going. There were several amendments that did not pass along the way, but it was clear that the main amendment to have masks mandated in elementary was going to pass. There were several doctors that were seated around me that had left one by one. And at 8 o'clock, I noticed a sheriff's deputy enter the room in a full bulletproof vest on the outside of his shirt. And that was a sign to me that something was going wrong. We could hear the chanting from inside the room, from the crowd outside. And at 8:40, one person left next to me, and I followed her out the door at that point because I did not want to be there for a complete bedlam that I would anticipate once that vote actually passed. When I walked out, I said to the sheriff that was guarding the door, I said, I want an escort to my car. He said, there are officers waiting immediately outside the door. I said, thank you, sir. They escorted me to my vehicle, as you can see. They tried to get me around the crowd. Unfortunately, the crowd was located in a position between the exit door and my vehicle. They were not to the side or anything like that, so I had to get out of there. All I wanted to do was go home to my family and my kids. I'm a parent. I'm not a doctor. I work as a data analyst in the healthcare profession. I'm just a parent who wanted to have his say why masks were important for children, all children under the age of 12.
You've got, I understand, 2 sons in schools there in Williamson County. One
Yes.
positive case in your son's 6th grade class last year. We know that masks are mandatory for elementary schools. What's your concern now for your older son?
Let me correct you there. You
go
mentioned
ahead.
one case last year. That was one case as of the meeting on Tuesday night, or
Okay.
as of yesterday.
Thank you.
I received a phone call just a little while ago. There is a second case today in the 6th grade class at my son's school. Parents are paranoid. We are highly concerned. There was an amendment that was voted on by the board to cover all children with a mask mandate under the age of 12 because they are not eligible for the vaccine. It was a logical proposal. Unfortunately, that was stalemated with a 5-5 board tie. There were 2 board members who were not present. One I understand was traveling, the other I don't know the reason for. But the vote did not pass, and as a result, our 6th grade children, and even those in the 7th grade who might be younger, are not protected. And I think there was a point that was brought up in the meeting about this that, well, many of these kids are turning 12. If they're not 12 now, they'll be in the next month or 2. Even if they turn 12 tomorrow, they're 2 months away from being fully vaccinated.
Yeah, they've got to get the first shot, second shot, and then the 2 weeks after that second shot.
Correct.
So I understand that in your remarks, you said that in March, the school district asked parents to make a decision in person with CDC guidance or now virtual learning. And now there's a vote if they will follow CDC guidance. Do you feel like the school board pulled the rug from under families?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to point the finger solely at the school board as much as just the entire administration. Let me be very clear about that. I don't know where the disconnect is. We were given the option back in March after Governor Lee said that schools would no longer be permitted to go online and have extra days for COVID, that you either had to be in person or you had to opt for online, which was a totally separate system this year. We'd be effectively a sub-district of Williamson County, no longer affiliated with our home schools. And yes, at the time, the school district was adhering to CDC policies. They had masks in addition to other layered mitigation strategies, as the superintendent referred to it the other night, the Swiss cheese strategy. And we made the decision based upon that. Children deserve to have the least restrictive environment to grow in. There is not a parent in that room who would disagree that a classroom environment is the best for their child. And that's on both sides. I don't care what side of the issue on, we all want our kids in school. They learn best in school. They learn socially, they learn academically the best. We made the decision to send our children to school based on that promise from Williamson County. That, unfortunately, is not how things rolled out for us.
Listen to, I know you were there, but I want you and those who are watching to listen to some of the arguments from the parents who are anti-mask mandate, and then I want your thoughts.
These parents aren't putting a mask on their children, and if you try to force us to do so, I know I personally will sue, and anyone else here who will join me, please show us hands.
I would never put them in a mask because their brain needs oxygen to grow, which the neurologist can confirm. Anyway, the real part of the clown show is that you all think that you actually have the authority to mandate this.
I swore an oath to protect this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. You harm our children, you become a domestic enemy, and we will come for you politically and financially. You have awakened the ape army, and we will come for you, and the Holy Spirit is coming with us.
What's your reaction to what you heard there? I see you shaking your head, and more what you heard that night.
Several things. First of all, some of the ignorance is appalling, and that's my opinion. The intimidation factor, the one gentleman you're showing here that I'm seeing now, in purple, the ex-Marine, I listened intently to what every one of them said respectfully. I think that a lot of those arguments were just bunk as far as the school district doesn't have the authority. Governor Lee himself came out and said he wants local control for that. So they do. As to awakening, I'm never going to put my kids in a mask, etc. Folks, we sacrificed a year with our kids on online school last year. We didn't feel safe in the environment. That was our choice. We were not given a choice this year. Our choice was you can go back to school. Our kids are entitled to learn in school. Why are we the ones that have to time and time again make sacrifice? Why should we sacrifice the safety of our children because people don't want to put on a simple mask? And the fact of a mask came up. I do want to call this out. One of the board members made mention to a comment that had been made by one of the other speakers in the evening about a snotty nose rag. It's like a little tissue. What's that going to do? He said, you know what, you're right. One of the other speakers turned and faced the group, myself and the group of doctors I was sitting with, and said, well, look at these guys. They're sitting here in their fancy PPE. No wonder they're fine. Well, I say then it's on the parents to make sure that the children have proper masks. I agree with them. A flimsy cloth mask is going to help, but it's not going to do nearly as much as a KF94 or a proper medical grade mask. They're available.
Yeah. Michael, this conversation we're having and what you saw and heard that night at the meeting is happening all over the country, as you know, not just in Tennessee. The president today took the opportunity, and I know for you this is not political, but he mentioned what he saw in that parking lot, and I want to play what the president said.
This isn't about politics. This is about keeping our children safe. You know, our healthcare workers are heroes. They were the heroes when there was no vaccine. Many of them gave their lives trying to save others. And they're heroes again with the vaccine. They're doing their best to care for the people refusing to get vaccinated. To the mayors, school superintendents, educators, local leaders who are standing up to the governors politicizing mask protection for our kids, thank you. Thank you as well. Thank God that we have heroes like you. And I stand with you all, and America should as well.
And he spoke specifically about the video in Tennessee. Your reaction to that at all?
Thank you, Mr. President. This went viral in a way for all the worst reasons. And I woke up this morning, it was on lead story on national news, and then by lunchtime, the president is talking about it. The truth is that nobody wants this kind of violence. There's no need for this. There can be terse discourse, but we have to learn to remember to respect one another and love one another and care for one another. The vocal group at the board meeting the other night spoke about we are the majority, let us vote. The silent majority was not present in that room. 70%, the board cited that 70% of the letters that they have received over the last several weeks have been pro-mask. 70%. This is the outlier. So,
Michael,
well, I can't implore enough that we need more parents to be willing to speak up.
Michael, you started this by telling me your fear and concern that night after the meeting. Some time has passed. Are you still, they said, we know who you are, we know where you are. Are you still concerned for your safety, your family's safety? Absolutely.
Absolutely. I believe some of the bad actors have been identified, and I'll say here to please let bygones be bygones. We're in a different point. We need to look at where we are now The terror of that day will take time to heal. There's absolutely no question.
Yeah.
The outrage over it, the discussion over it needs to continue. Board meetings are for parents and concerned community members to have peaceful discourse with one another. Board members should not be sitting on a board being threatened with their lives. Parents shouldn't feel threatened for their lives walking into a parking lot. That is not the America I know.
Michael Miller, I thank you for spending some time with me, and I'm sorry for what you had experienced after that meeting. Again, Michael, thank you.
Thank you.